All right, here we are. Welcome to week 1, day 1. Gotta make that correction there. 5th grade Reds. I'm sorry, week 2. Week 2, day 1. There we go. 5th grade Reds. Week 2, day 1. So let's go over it. Yes, last week's day 3's exit ticket, which was 5,642 times 6. Here's my 6 times tables, all the way up to 6 times 6, because I see that's the highest factors I need to know, the product of 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36. 6 times 2 equals 12, right? Carry the 1 of the 12. 4 times 6 equals 24, plus 1 equals 25. Leave the 5, carry the 2 from 25. 6 times 6 is 36, plus 2, that 2 right there, equals 38. Leave the 8, carry the 3. 6 times 5 equals 30, plus 3 equals that 3 right there, 33, which gives you 33,852 as your answer. So last week we focused all on multiplication. This week our focus is going to be all on division. All right? So we're going to start off with a 4-digit divided by a 1-digit number. There's 2 different strategies we're going to use to help us with this type of problem. I'll go over each one. So the first strategy is we can ask ourselves how many 6's go into 3. Well, it might sound like a silly question, but it is something that we struggle with quite a bit. 6 can't go into 3. So just to show it can't, I'm going to put a 0 up there, right above it. Because a lot of mistakes happen where we forget to put what where. And this, putting that 0 up there helped us remember that. Next, I should have done this first, really, before trying to solve anything over here, but I'll do it now. 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, 6 times 3 is 18, 6 times 4 is 24, 6 times 5 is 30, 36, 42, 48, 54. Now, I know 6 can't go into 3, but I'm going to check to see if it can go into 30. Can 6 go into 30? Well, according to my multiplication facts, it can go into 30. It goes in 5 times. So, since it can go in 5 times, I'm going to put 5 right above the 0 from the 30. Be cautious of that. Where does that 5 go? Above the 0 from the 30. Now I'll do the division. If you remember, some of you, most of you might remember or seen me do my little acting skit here. Divide, right, division symbol, multiply, subtract, bring down. So 5 times, we divided 6 into 30 and we got 5. 5 times 6 gives you 30. Now I'll subtract and then bring down the 0 from the tens place. 6, now this is where a lot of students think they're done. But does it make sense for me to say that 6 goes into 3,000 5 times only? No. So this is where I have to finish it out. 6 goes into 0 times. 0 times 6 equals 0. Subtract. Bring down the 0 from the ones place. 6 goes into 0 times. 0 times 6 equals 0. Subtract. You get 0, and you have nothing left over to bring down. So your answer is 500. Now, the other strategy you could have done is multiply each of these by hundreds. If you did that, if you multiplied instead of by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but you multiplied by 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, then you would have gotten 6 times 100 equals 600. Notice, two place values, two place values. Okay? We don't like to use the terminology of adding zeros because you can't add a zero. Like 6 plus 0 equals 0. Technically what's happening is you're shifting the 6 over, two place values. So if you're shifting here, this 2 place values, 1, 2, you're shifting the 12 over two place values to give you 1,200. And you get 1,800, 2,400, 3,000. Oh, that's exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for 3,000. So 6 goes into 3,000 500 times. So that's the second strategy. It's also a good strategy just to check yourself, right? Let's now move on to number 2. How many 7s go into 4,200? 4,200. Do your multiplication here. I would recommend starting off and asking yourself how many 7s go into 4? And then how many 7s go into 42? And then go from there. Hit the pause button now. Okay, so 7 times table, 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56, 63. 7 goes into 42 6 times. So the 6 goes above the 2 from 42. 6 times 7 equals 42. I subtract. I bring down the 0 from the tens place. 7 can't go into 0, but well, technically it just goes in 0 times. So 0 times 7 equals 0. Subtract. Bring down the 0 from the ones place. 7 goes into that to 0, 0 times. 0 times 7 equals 0, which leaves you with 0 left over and nothing else to bring down, giving you the answer of 600. Or like I said earlier, like we did over here, you could just multiply everything by 100. And notice, when you do that, when you multiply this by like 100, 1 times 100 equals 100, right? So when you're shifting over two place values, as we use in terminology in math, or placing two zeros there, you have to do the same thing in your product. So therefore you see 7 times 600 equaled that 4,200. Number 3. How many times does 8 go into 3,200? So, go ahead and do your 8 times tables to solve. So if you're doing what I'm expecting you to do, which is write down the facts every time you have a problem here, I guarantee you by the end of the summer, not only will you improve in your multiplication of 3-digit and 4-digit times a 1-digit, but you will, and your division and your fractions that we're working on next week and the following week after that, but you also will get so much better in just your multiplication fluency. In knowing 8 times 4 equals, bam. What does 8 times 4 equal? 32. So, or 8 times 7 equals 56. Like you'll just get so, by writing it down, that's the kinesthetic learning piece. Visually seeing it, you are just, and even if you can say it out loud, that's the auditory piece. So if you're incorporating, if you're writing all your facts, you're visually seeing them. Obviously, when you write them, you visually see them, and then you say them out loud. You just incorporated all 3 learning styles to give you almost like a superpower of learning styles to really boost your multiplication fluency. So, how many 8s will go into 32? Because 8 obviously can't go into 3. Well, 8 goes into 32. We already mentioned before it goes in 4 times. So I'm going to put the 4 above the 2. And 4 times 8 equals 32. Subtract, bring down, 8 goes into 0. 0 times 8 equals 0. Subtract, bring down, 8 goes into 0. 0 times, which gives you 400. You subtract the 0 times 8, which equals that 0 here. You subtract that, and you get 0 with nothing left over and nothing to bring down, giving you 400. Or if you chose to turn these into hundreds, you would have gotten 400 here, which would have been 3,200 here. Note you visually seeing that 8 goes into 3,200 right there 400 times. Last but not least, number 4. How many 7s go into 5,600? Hit the pause button to solve that now. All right, so 7 goes into 5 0 times. We know that. But it does go into 56. It goes in 8 times. I'm going to put the 8 above the 6 from 56. 8 times 7 equals 56. We subtract. We bring down the 0 from the tens place. 7 goes into 0. 0 times. 0 times 7 equals 0. You subtract. You bring down the 0 from the ones place. 7 goes into 0. 0 times. 0 times 7 equals 0. You subtract, and you have nothing left over and nothing else to bring down, giving you the answer of 800. Sorry for that glare there. And if you decided to do the timesing each of these 7s by hundreds, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, you would notice you would gotten 5,600. So therefore, concluding that 7 goes into 5,600 800 times. So with that being said, hopefully if you're making mistakes, you're picking up on what those are so you don't repeat them. Number 1 mistake being putting your digit in the wrong place value. So go ahead and solve 7,200 divided by 9 and submit your answer in the Google form in Google Classroom for day 1 of week 2. Thanks very much for your participation, and we will see you back here tomorrow.